Hello and welcome to the Essex Boys Murder Case Part 35. Before watching this video, I recommend watching Part 4 onwards on YouTube first, as these videos are all about the key individuals and the murder victims' movements on the day of the 6th of December 1995. Quick mention to the Facebook page called The Real Essex Boys Murder Club. If you're interested, please feel free to join. There's some great people on there with a lot of knowledge on this subject. So this is the second part of the reconnaissance missions done by Mick Steele, Jack Wooms and Darren Nichols and anyone else a few weeks before and on the day before the triple murders. I'm using phone log evidence, witness statements and Darren Nichols' version of events according to his second statement, as he says he had no prior knowledge the murders were going to take place. Remember, he has to say this or he can't be used as a supergrass, and he and his family won't be allowed to go into the witness protection scheme. He will be sent down for murder under the joint enterprise law. Now there's going to be 7 parts to this video, which I discussed in the first one that I've made, and I'm going to try and cram in as much information as I can, and I will be visiting some old haunts along the journey that were in my previous Day of the Murder videos. As I have said in previous videos, these murders were not planned on the day. I mean, this took a lot of planning, at least a few weeks beforehand. Darren Nichols said he did not know anything about these murders that were going to take place and was merely doing a bit of driving that night for Mick Steele and Jack Wooms, which I don't believe, having done all the research on this subject. He would have had inside knowledge of what was about to happen to Pat Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe down that farm track that night. In part 1 of these recce videos, I covered a meeting place where they would meet up and have done in the past, which was Mark's Tea. They have found a perfect location for the murders to take place, and they have devised a plan of getting the Essex boys to the chosen location so they can be executed. So I'm going to carry on now with the next part of these recce videos. So the next part of their plan is one of them is going to have to be with them in the Range Rover and guide them to the chosen location and show them where an intended drugs drop will take place, but in fact they will be lured to their deaths. Now this had to be someone they could trust, someone they knew well and believed their story. I mean, it couldn't be Darren Nichols, as Pat Tate was fuming with him over the dud cannabis fiasco and was pressuring Mick Steele for his address and telephone number. I mean, this is where you don't see any communication via Darren Nichols and any of the Essex boys through the phone log evidence. Darren Nichols is not the one organising this. Jack Wooms didn't really have much communication with the Essex boys according to witness statements and also the phone log evidence. In fact, out of the 3 of them, he only knew Pat Tate. Mick Steele, on the other hand, he's the link to the Essex boys. He knows and has met all 3 of them before. Donna Jaggers, the common-law wife of Craig Rolfe, confirmed this in her statement. I mean, Mick Steele has done deals with Tucker and Tate and a small syndicate before. If you have looked at this case a lot closer and have looked at Mick Steele, Jack Wooms and Darren Nichols' properties they lived in back then, you will know which one of them was the most comfortable and well off out of the 3. I mean, Mick Steele is Mr. Big out of the 3 of them. He's the one in constant communication with the Essex boys leading up to their deaths, via the phone log evidence. He's the one putting this plan into action and keeping them in the loop with his intended drugs drop. Mick Steele will be the one in the Range Rover guiding them to Rettendon and down the farm track. Mick Steele cannot carry a gun along any part of the journeys, especially when he's in the Range Rover. If found with a firearm, it would have drastic consequences for him. With Mick Steele showing them where an intended drugs drop is going to take place in the upcoming days, there is no need for the Essex boys to carry or arm themselves with guns at this stage. So there's no way Mick Steele is going to get caught with a firearm on him on this journey. He's going to be in the Range Rover guiding the Essex boys to the village of Rettendon and then down the farm track so he couldn't carry a firearm. He wasn't going to be a shooter, not at this stage. The only way he could take part in the shootings is when he gets out of the vehicle and is passed a gun by an assailant, but the element of surprise would have gone. I mean, the ambush was crucial in these executions. This leaves Darren Nichols and Jack Wooms. Were these two going to be the assassins? Darren Nichols asked an associate of his, a Roy French, to see if he could get hold of a firearm. Roy French asked his criminal contacts from South East London and was told they could get him any type of firearm. When he told Darren Nichols this, he changed his mind and told Roy French he no longer needed one. Is this because Darren Nichols' bottle went and he devised a plan to tell Mick Steele and Jack Wooms at the last minute he could not get hold of a firearm, but he would still be the getaway driver? He wanted the others to go through with the plan as he wanted Pat Tate out of the way. Now, Jack Wooms was known to have owned 2 shotguns which were not licensed due to him having spent time in prison. Was he the one who was going to take out Tucker Tate and Rolfe? Or did they decide to hire a hitman to carry out the executions with Jack Wooms keeping cover in case anything went wrong? To me, whoever carried out the triple murders had to have had firearms experience. Not someone who's picked up a gun for the first time and fired it. I mean, we've all heard the cliche, anyone can shoot someone, all you have to do is pull the trigger. Well, I mean, that's easier said than done. I mean, think about it. We're not talking about taking pot shots at rabbits down the woods. I mean, this guy has to take out 3 of Essex's most feared gangsters. I mean, Pat Tate was known throughout the underworld. Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe robbed other drug dealers. Tony Tucker owned the security to nightclubs in the Essex and Southend areas. He controlled the doors there, and in doing that, he controlled the sale of drugs in the nightclubs. To me, Tony Tucker was probably known more in the criminal underworld and was further up the criminal ladder than the other 2. I mean, these 3 were well known in the criminal underworld. Whoever was going to execute these 3 men had to have killed before. He had to know who they are and what they were capable of. I mean, this guy was fearless and had a wealth of experience in this sort of thing. Of course, his heart, it would have been pumping as the Range Rover came down the track. The anxiety of him walking up to the Range Rover when the back door was left open and blast 3 men close range. The killer had to have done this before. He certainly did not mess about, as it was over very quickly. So did Mick Steele, Jack Wilms and Darren Nichols contact the Boers crime family to arrange a hitman to take out Tucker, Tate and Rolfe. Jack Wilms had links to the Boers, and I've read it somewhere he was related to them. Did they arrange to meet a hitman at the Peacock Gym a few weeks before the murders, organised by the Boers crime family? Most people will know who the Boers are, but if you don't, they are a feared and respected crime family from Canning Town. They own the Peacock Gym along the Silvertown Strip, and they were investigated in the Tiberius report, and in that report the police intelligence said they were one of the most feared families in the underworld. The Boers, Tony and Martin, were involved in large shipments of drugs being brought into the country, money laundering, the hijacking of lorries for their goods, taking out rival gangsters. I don't want to go into too much detail about this crime family in this video, as I want to concentrate on Mick Steele, Jack Wilms and Darren Nichols' Reccie today, but I will be going into more detail with the Boers when I move on to Billy Jasper and his version of events. So the Boers had a place in the Peacock Gym where fellow criminals could meet up and discuss business. Two parties would walk in, and the Boers would take them to a table so they could discuss their business in private. Like a safe house for criminals to sort out their upcoming graft. Did Jack Wilms contact the Boers and ask to meet a hitman? Someone they knew who could do the job. Did Mick Steele, Jack Wilms and Darren Nichols all meet at the Peacock Gym a few weeks before the executions and discuss how they could get rid of the Essex boys once and for all? All they had to do is tell him how they were going to lure Tucker, Tate and Rolfe to a chosen location so he could take them out. They would have to show him where it was going to happen, and prices would be discussed to take out the Essex boys. Is this why Mick Steele and Jack Wilms have never spoken out about him due to reprisals to their families? You might think, why hasn't Darren Nichols mentioned him? Well, he can't, because the hitman's not going to use his real name. He'll have an alias for communication. Even with Darren Nichols' new identity, he's not going to mention this hitman due to him being recommended by the Boers, as they had corrupt police officers on their books. I mean, if it's anyone who's going to find Darren Nichols, the police could. After all, they were the ones that put him and his family into witness protection. So that's it for this particular video. I will try and get the next part of the Reccie videos up as soon as I can. And like I say, there's 7 parts to it, so I hope you're going to enjoy it. I'd just like to thank the YouTube subscribers. I hope you've enjoyed this video. And don't forget, you can join the Facebook group called The Real Essex Boys Murder Club. All we ask is respect other people's opinions on there, as we all have our own theories of what we think happened that night. Last of all, I'd like to thank the admins who do a great job of keeping the group ticking over. Until next time, take care.